Hey guys. Okay, so right out of the gate, one thing I loved about this chapter is the absolute irony that despite copy and pasting Germa's techniques and science onto himself, it was ultimately the awakening of those same tech of that same science of that same technology science, whatever you want to call it, within Sanji, and how his body is basically how he has come to like fully embrace the changes within his body that ultimately defeated Queen, while at the same time, again, also reinforcing the idea that Reiju had the Reiju had basically had comforted Sanji with the idea that even though even though he has the same enhanced powers as his family, the core of who Sanji is as a character, the core of who he is as a person, is still and will always remain human because of Sora's kindness. Like, it's because of Sanji's mother, and because of what she did, that even though Sanji has inherited those same qualities as his family, reinforces the idea that even though Sanji has inherited those same qualities as his those like scientific like enhancements as his family, he still is human at the end of the day. And it is honest, and I guess in a way he can't entirely be. He's embraced the fact that it is because of those powers, of those ideas, that of those enhancements that Sanji is even able to, that we see that Sanji is even able to survive, like heating his legs up to that level, up to that extreme heat to begin with. So he's walking away from it saying that even though he hates his family, he still kind of has come to accept the pretty much good in what's happened to him, I think. Now, on the flip side of that, learning what happened to that woman was actually because of Queen and not Sanji's fault is one of those things that I felt it would have been more interesting without knowing the truth, because even if it did provide the motivation for Sanji leading into the endlessly entertaining beatdown of Queen, I think it just would have been more interesting overall if we to have not like really, is that even though we know it wasn't Sanji, it would have been interesting, like, just not like having it confirmed or anything, just to kind of reinforce the idea that. But at the same time, I do get why it was had to be told to us that, yeah, Queen was the one who did that to that one, because it was just reinforcing the idea that Sanji is still human and that he's not becoming a monster. With that said, obviously Sanji didn't die or change anything into the thing he feared the most becoming, but I don't think this has taken away the idea that Sanji is going to die either. Like, it's one of those things where even if Sanji didn't die here, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen elsewhere, and it still is going to happen. It's just a matter of when now. And yeah, with that said, we also see Momonosuke making progress on keeping Onigashima afloat. However, I don't believe Yamato is going to be able to stop the explosives, because here's the thing with that. After kind of reflecting and re-examining this whole situation with Onigashima, I've realized that even if it were to blow up, I believe the damage to Wano is going to be minimal at best, and if anything, the fleet below is going to take the brunt of whatever happens to Onigashima, because if you really look at how all the pieces are laid out on the board, the stage is kind of set perfectly for Luffy to kind of to go out with a bang and basically announce to the world that he's claiming Wano as his territory, along with Fishman Island, like once Kaido is taken out. Plus, an explosion like that, plus, if you look at like the directory of where Onigashima is compared to Wano and where it is right now, I think the explosion of Onigashima would also provide the perfect way in which it also provide the perfect means in which the Straw Hats to escape the Navy's blockade of Wano as well. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. Now, obviously, all these pieces do feel too perfectly lined up in this way, and it's still a question of what exactly is going to happen to Wano, because whatever happens to it in the aftermath, ultimately, I think the same message is going to be made clear, which is that the borders are open to Wano now, regardless. So I think beyond that, it is going to need to be a thing where Momonosuke is at that point is going to need to take absolute charge, which I'm going to get into a bit here. But yeah, also this is really just a nitpick of mine. And getting into that, I also realized that Oda has gone this entire time without truly showing us what Momonosuke actually looks like, aged up. Again, which makes me think that what's going to come, that, again, whatever happens to Wano in the aftermath of this, I feel like however Momonosuke is aged up is going to come back into play, and with how Wano will bounce back from this ordeal, and which will put Momonosuke in the spotlight to kind of, in order to help unify Wano once again. Because remember, after he was aged up, Shinobu said that Momonosuke looked like a certain person, and again, we can guess who that certain person is. Like, he more than likely looks like who is it? He more than likely looks like Odin, but here's the thing, I think Momonosuke is definitely going to use that to his advantage, but I think he's going to use it as a means to get people to listen to them, and kind of just but also kind of tell them outright that despite how I think what he's going to do is, when he addresses the people, he's going to say, even though I look like my father, I'm still weak, and I need everyone's help in remaking Wano what it once was. That whole spiel. And I think this, again, I think all the pieces are set for Momonosuke to do that. I'll be curious to see how Oda plays that out. Now, getting back to the whole thing with Sanji dying or not, because after this chapter, I feel fairly confident saying that whenever he's going to die, it's going to be in the near the back end of the story, either during or just before the Throne War. And honestly, I'm almost wondering if Oda's setting up Sanji up in a way where Shanks might not be the only one who dies to Blackbeard. Because Robin getting captured is still a thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sanji could end up in a situation of sacrificing himself to save her. It's just a matter of timeline and when these events are going to take place. The only thing I do know for certain is that Blackbeard will be taking center stage again when this happens, because with him only getting brief appearances here and there, but largely being MIA from this arc, like not even getting a mention or anything, Oda does need to give us something that shows why Luffy and the Straw Hats need to fear him even more than Kaido. And again, Shanks dying is definitely part of that, but from Sanji sacrificing himself might also be a part of that, because even though Shanks dying would be enough of a reminder to Luffy of how powerful Blackbeard has become, like losing one of his own would also just be like a reminder that yes, that they only scratch the surface of how powerful these Yonko can be with they've only scratched the surface with Kaido of how powerful the Yonko can be, and that they've completely forgotten, and they have kind of completely forgotten about Blackbeard in some respects. Now, with that said, there really wasn't a whole lot to this chapter outside of Sanji versus Queen fight and Momonosuke stuff. In fact, even though we finally got rid of Queen, it felt like this chapter kind of felt like the most stagnant one yet. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Analyst Control. Push the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Renee, signing off. Later, everyone.